I'm 24 years old, walking toward my brand new apartment building for the very first time. Keys still warm in my hand. Heart so full it hurts. Then I turn the corner and see two giant U-Haul trucks parked right in front of my door. My mother is standing on the sidewalk waving like it's Christmas morning. My father is directing professional movers who are already carrying their king-size bed frame into my building. Mom runs over, throws her arms around me, and says the words that made my stomach drop to the floor. "Surprise, baby! We sold the old house, and we're moving in with you forever! You make so much money now, we'll be the perfect little family again!" I dropped my grocery bags. Eggs cracked all over the pavement, because my parents hadn't spoken to me in 6 years. Until they found out my salary. Please subscribe the channel so you never miss the next one. I drop a new revenge story every single week. My name is Ava, and this is the full hour and a half story of how my lazy, entitled parents tried to hijack the life I bled to build, and how I quietly, coldly, perfectly proved them wrong once and for all. Let me take you back to the beginning, so you understand why the sight of those trucks felt like the final betrayal of my entire life. I grew up in a big, beautiful 4-bedroom house that always smelled like panic and overdue bills. Dad called himself an idea guy. Mom called herself a free spirit. Translation: neither of them had held a real job since I was in kindergarten. While other kids got allowance and new sneakers, I got lectures about money not growing on trees. At 12, I was babysitting every single weekend. At 14, I was mowing lawns before school. At 15, I had a night shift at Dairy Queen, just so we could keep the electricity on when Dad's latest $1 million app idea crashed and burned again. I paid the water bill with my tips. I bought groceries when Mom's credit card got declined in front of the whole Walmart line. I once handed over my entire 400 birthday savings to stop the bank from taking our house. They never once said thank you. They just smiled and said, "That's what family does." By 18, I had secretly saved 11,000 every dollar earned flipping burgers, tutoring math, walking dogs in the rain. The day I graduated high school, I packed one suitcase and left a note on the kitchen counter. "I love you both, but I can't keep being your retirement plan. I'm going to college. Please don't follow me." They didn't come to my graduation. They didn't help with tuition. They didn't call, text, or even like a single Instagram post for 6 straight years. I worked 3 jobs through college. I ate nothing but ramen and cereal for months at a time. I cried in library bathrooms when I thought I couldn't do it anymore, but I graduated with honors in computer science at 23 and landed my dream job, $127,000 starting salary, signing bonus, stock options, full benefits. For the first time in my life, I could finally breathe. I rented a gorgeous 2-bedroom apartment with big windows and a balcony that looked over the city. I bought real furniture that didn't come from Craigslist. I hung fairy lights and bought plants and told myself, "This is mine. No one can take it away." Then I made one tiny, innocent mistake. I posted a proud selfie on my private Instagram story, me sitting at my new desk, happy tears in my eyes. Caption that said, "First big girl paycheck just hit. Still can't believe this is my life." I forgot my cousin Mia still followed me from the old family account. She screenshotted it and sent it straight to my mom with the message, "Look what Ava's making now." That single screenshot ended 6 years of beautiful silence. Within hours, my phone started exploding with notifications. "Mom, baby, we are so proud of you." "Dade, that's my girl. Always knew you'd make it big." "Mom again, we've missed you so much." For one stupid, hopeful second, I let myself believe they actually cared about me, not my money. Then the real messages rolled in. "Mom, your dad's truck broke down. Could you send 5,000 ones? Dade, interest rates are killing us. 12,000 would save the house. Mom, your little brother needs braces. 7,000. Dade, family helps family. Ava." In 7 days they had asked for almost 30,000. When I said I wasn't comfortable, the love disappeared overnight. When I said no, the guilt trips started. When I stopped answering, the threats began. Mom, if you don't help really our parents, you're not really our daughter. Dad, you'll regret this when we're living on the street. I blocked every number. I cried for one night. Then I told myself it was finally over. I was so wrong. Because 4 months later they showed up with moving trucks. I walked in from work on a random Thursday, work bag still on my shoulder, ready to cook my favorite pasta in my own kitchen, and found my mother making coffee in my mugs, my couch gone, replaced by their old floral sofa from 2012. My brand new TV missing, in its place their giant cracked screen one with the sticky remote. Dad was hanging their faded photos on my walls like he'd lived there for years. I stood frozen in the doorway, mouth open, unable to breathe. Mom turned around, smiled like this was totally normal, and said, "Hi, honey." We let ourselves in with the spare key the leasing office gave us. We told them we're your parents and you were expecting us. Surprise! We're all moved in. That's when I saw the paper on the counter. A lease addendum with my forged signature adding, Linda and Richard Thompson, as permanent residents. They had been living in my apartment for 3 full days while I was at the office. They had changed the Wi-Fi password to Family First 2024. They had thrown out all my food and filled the fridge with their cheap junk. Dad had set up his gaming consoles in the second bedroom like it was his man cave. I finally found my voice and screamed, "Get out! Get out right now!" Dad just laughed like I was throwing a tantrum. Mom rolled her eyes and said, "Iva, don't be dramatic. You make great money now. We're just staying until we get back on our feet. You owe us this." I owe them? That night I slept in my car again, crying so hard my ribs hurt. Because for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't just angry. I was done being their doormat. I was ready to shut the door forever, quietly, legally, and permanently. And that's exactly what I did. The very next morning I walked into work with red, swollen eyes and asked for an emergency meeting with HR and legal. I laid everything on the table: the forged lease, the texts demanding money, the photos of their furniture in my home, the Facebook posts bragging they were finally being taken care of. My company has a zero-tolerance policy for identity theft and harassment. Within 2 hours they connected me with the best employment lawyer in the city, completely paid for by them. Within 4 hours we had a plan so cold, so perfect. My parents would never see it coming. But first I let them think they had won. I moved into a hotel for 2 weeks and told nobody where I was. I even left a fake note on the counter. "Staying with a friend for a bit, make yourselves at home." They took the bait like starving fish. Mom posted selfies in my kitchen with captions like, "Finally reunited with my baby girl. Living our best life." Dad bragged to all his old buddies that his daughter was finally stepping up like she should. They had no idea I was watching every single move. I set up hidden cameras in the living room and kitchen, completely legal in my own home. I forwarded all the apartment mail to a P.O. box. I saved every text, every Facebook post, every Venmo request they sent to relatives asking for moving in celebration money. And then I discovered the one thing that would end it all. My company's little-known family hardship relief fund. Employees can apply for up to $40,000 in emergency aid if a close relative is facing eviction, medical crisis, or long-term unemployment. The money goes straight to verified service providers, never cash to the family. My parents had spent decades telling anyone who would listen that I was abandoning them in their time of need. So I sat down with real tears in my eyes and filled out the application. 40 pages of proof. Screenshots of them demanding money, the forged lease photos of them living rent-free in my home, a sworn statement that they were chronically unemployed and refusing to work, even a carefully worded concerned neighbor letter about possible substance issues. HR was horrified. They approved the maximum $40,000 payable directly to a 120-day mandatory live-in rehabilitation and job training facility 2 hours away. On day 14 of my hotel stay, 2 caseworkers, and a sheriff's deputy knocked on my apartment door with official papers. Mom opened the door wearing my bathrobe. The caseworker smiled politely and said, "Linda and Richard Thompson, your daughter filed an emergency family intervention. You have 2 hours to pack 1 bag each. Transportation leaves at 4 p.m. Dad tried to argue. The deputy simply pointed to the court order. Mom started screaming that I was kidnapping them. They were escorted out in front of the entire building, still wearing my slippers, carrying trash bags full of clothes. That was only the beginning. 2 hours after the sheriff took them away, I got the first voicemail. Mom's voice was pure panic. "Ava, they're saying this isn't normal rehab. They're taking our phones. They're making us mow arc. Call them right now and get us out." I didn't call back. I just turned the volume all the way up and listened to every single message as they poured in over the next 3 days. Because the place I sent them wasn't a soft little spa with yoga classes and therapy dogs. It was a state-funded, court-ordered, 120-day residential work program for chronic welfare fraud and long-term unemployed adults. And once you sign the intake papers in front of a deputies, which they did, there is no leaving until day 112, or you go straight to jail. Welcome to the revenge they never saw coming. The program was called New Beginnings Restoration Ranch. The brochure looks pretty: rolling green hills, fresh air, life skills training. What the brochure conveniently leaves out are the 5 a.m. wake-up bells, the 10-hour shifts in the community garden, the industrial laundry room, the kitchen that feeds 300 people a day. No television. No personal phones. No internet. No visitors for the first 60 days. Phones are locked in a safe. You get 15 supervised minutes a week. They tried everything on day 1. Dad suddenly developed a bad back the second he saw the garden hoe. Mom burst into tears about her anxiety and demanded her own private room. The director just smiled and said, "Everyone here has a story. Your story starts with 500 heads of lettuce that need harvesting by Friday." I was listed as the concerned family sponsor, so I got daily email updates and copies of every incident report. Day 30, Mom tried to bribe a staff member with the last 87 in her purse. Result: 1 extra week added. Day 50, Dad refused to wear the uniform. He spent the entire day scrubbing toilets with a toothbrush. Day 70. They both wrote me letters on the official program stationery. See, I still have them framed in my home office. "Dear Ava, this is cruel and unusual punishment. We are being treated like prisoners. Please come get us. We promise we'll never ask for money again. We're so sorry." I read those letters out loud in my empty apartment and laughed for the first time in weeks. Real, deep from the belly laughter. Meanwhile, I took my life back. The same day they left, I had every lock changed. I sold every single thing they brought on Facebook Marketplace. Their old couch went for 40. Their cracked TV for 25. Dad's dusty gaming consoles for 60. I donated every penny to a women's shelter in my name. I scrubbed the apartment top to bottom until it smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings again. I bought new dishes, new towels, new everything. I walked around barefoot in my own home and whispered, "This is mine, and nobody will ever take it again." Around day 45, they hit absolute rock bottom. Mom used her weekly 15 minutes to call me sobbing, "We have to be up at 4:30 a.m. to milk cows, Ava. Kuboas, your father has blisters on his hands. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Please get us out." I finally answered on day 52. I kept my voice soft, almost kind. "Mom, you always told me family helps family, right? I'm helping you learn how to support yourselves for the first time in your lives. You still have 68 days left. Use them well." Then I hung up. For the first time in my entire life, they had no choice but to work for every meal, every shower, every minute of sleep. And I slept like a baby, knowing justice was being served 1 blister at a time. Day 120 finally arrived. I got the official email at 8:03 a.m. Linda and Richard Thompson have successfully completed the 120-day New Beginnings Restoration Ranch program. They have been issued state IDs, a one-way bus pass, and a certificate of completion. They are ready for release. Attached was a photo's mom and dad standing in front of the ranch sign in matching gray t-shirts, faces sunburned, hands rough and calloused, looking 20 years older than when they left. They were smiling in the picture because they thought freedom meant coming straight back to my apartment. They had no idea I had spent the last 4 months making sure they would never, ever find me again. The second that bus pulled into the city station, they went straight to my old apartment building, dragging their single allowed bags behind them. A sweet college girl, the new tenant who moved in 2 weeks after I disappeared, opened the door. Mom started crying, "Where's Ava? This is our daughter's place." The girl just showed them the lease in her name and quietly closed the door. That's when the panic calls started flooding in. I had already changed my number, but they dug up my work email through an old cousin. 47 messages in 1 hour. "Mom, we're outside your apartment and some stranger is living there. Where are you? Dade, we did the program like you wanted. We're changed people. Let us come home. Mom again and have nowhere to go. Ava, please." I didn't answer a single one. Because while they were learning how to weed onion rows at 5 a.m., I had been building a wall they could never climb. Here's what they discovered. One gut punch at a time. I had moved to a new city, new apartment, new number, sitters completely unlisted. I had filed a permanent no contact restraining order the day they entered the program. Any attempt to locate me, automatic arrest. I had frozen my credit and put fraud alerts on every account. They were flagged as potential identity theft risks at every bank in the state. I had sent certified letters to every single relative with dated proof, the forged lease, the moving trucks, the decades of financial abuse. Nobody was taking their calls anymore. Their storage unit, where they thought their good stuff was waiting, had been auctioned off 3 months earlier for non-payment. Everything gone. They ended up at a rundown mall off the highway, paying $59 a night with the $203 entry stipend the program gave them. By day 4 they were completely broke. Then came the very last surprise I had saved. The program requires every graduate to attend a family reconciliation meeting within 30 days of release. I agreed to attend virtually from an undisclosed location, with my lawyer sitting right beside me. The Zoom link went live on day 128. Mom and Dad were sitting in the motel lobby, because it was the only place with free Wi-Fi. They looked exhausted, thinner, cleaner than I'd ever seen them. Mom started crying the second she saw my face on the screen. "Ava, baby, thank you for coming. We're so sorry. We see it now. We were wrong." Dad nodded, eyes red. "We just want to come home and make it right." I let them talk for 10 full minutes. Every apology, every promise, every tear. Then I spoke, only once. Calm and clear. "I'm glad the program taught you new skills. You now know how to wake up early, how to work, how to live within a budget. Use it. Because this is the last time you will ever see my face or hear my voice. The restraining order is permanent. My address is sealed. My finances are locked down forever. You taught me my whole life that family helps family. Today I helped you. By letting you finally live the life you forced me to live for 18 years. Goodbye." I clicked, leave meeting. The caseworker later told me Mom collapsed on the floor sobbing. Dad just stared at the black screen for 20 straight minutes without moving. They tried one final time 6 months later. A handwritten letter forwarded through my lawyer. "We've been clean working, renting a tiny studio. We're proud of the woman you've become. We don't want money. We just want our daughter back." I read it once. Then I slipped it into the same folder as their old "We're homeless. Help us" texts. And I never wrote back. Because some doors aren't meant to reopen. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. And some parents learn too late that the child they treated like an ATM can one day afford to cut the power forever. 2 years have passed since I clicked leave meeting on that Zoom call. I'm 26 now. I bought my first house last spring. A little 3-bedroom with a white porch swing, wildflowers I planted myself, and windows that actually open. I got promoted to senior software engineer. My savings account just hit 6 figures for the first time ever. I have a golden retriever named Luna who thinks I hung the moon. I've been to Japan, Italy, and Iceland is booked for next spring. I have friends who feel like soul family, the kind who celebrate my wins instead of sending Venmo requests. And every single month, like clockwork, a brand new phone number texts me, "We're so proud of you, baby. We just want to see you." I don't reply. I don't block them anymore either. I just let the message sit there, unread, until it disappears on its own. Because for the first time in my entire life, I am completely, beautifully, unapologetically free. Freedom didn't come from screaming or fighting or begging them to love me. It came from going quiet, going smart, and going no contact forever. Here's where my parents are today, because I know you're wondering. They still live in the same tiny studio apartment on the edge of town. Dad works the night shift as a janitor at the community college. Mom cleans offices downtown before the sun comes up. They ride the city bus everywhere. They eat on a budget. They wake up at 5 a.m. every single morning, just like they learned at the ranch. And every time someone asks why their successful daughter doesn't help them, they finally have to tell the truth. Because they spent 24 years teaching her that love comes with a price tag. And the day she could finally afford to pay it, she chose to pay for her own peace instead. I don't hate them anymore. Hate takes energy and I refuse to give them one more drop. I just feel nothing. And that nothing is the most powerful, peaceful feeling I have ever known. So if you're watching this at 3 a.m., curled up in bed, crying because your own parents, siblings, or family make you feel like a walking bank account. If you're terrified that saying no makes you a bad daughter, a bad sister, a bad person, please hear me. You are not a backup plan. You are not an emergency fund. You are not responsible for fixing the mess they refuse to clean up themselves. I spent 18 years paying their bills with babysitting money. I spent 4 years building a life they tried to steal. And I spent 1 single year making sure they could never touch it again. Today I sleep in a bed I bought with my own paycheck. I eat food I paid for. I answer to no one. And the funniest part of all, they finally learned how to support themselves. Because I stopped doing it for them. So if you're carrying guilt heavier than any paycheck could ever fix, if you're scared of being called selfish, ungrateful, or heartless, remember this. The kindest thing you can do for someone who only loves what you provide is to stop providing it. Real love doesn't send Venmo requests. Real love doesn't show up with U-Haul trucks. Real love celebrates your wins instead of invoicing you for them. You are allowed to close the door. You are allowed to change the locks. You are allowed to disappear and build a life that is yours and only yours. I was the little girl who paid the light bill so her parents could keep the lights on. Now I'm the woman who turned off the power on guilt forever. And I have never, not once, regretted it. If this story helped even one person stop feeling guilty for choosing themselves, then every tear I cried, every night I slept in my car, every second I spent afraid was worth it. You are not what you can give. You are not your paycheck. You are enough exactly as you are right now. Thank you for letting me tell you my whole story. Now go close the door that needs closing. The life waiting on the other side is more beautiful than you can imagine. I promise. If this story helped you even a little tonight, please subscribe. It's completely free, and it helps me keep bringing you stories that remind you your peace is worth protecting.